The planet Lura 9 was quiet when Captain Eli Warren stepped out of his crashed shuttle. Smoke curled into the violet sky and the sound of strange creatures echoed through the glowing trees. His comms were dead. His ship's power core was cracked. He was alone, at least that's what he thought. Hours passed before he found the ruins. They looked ancient, built of smooth white stone covered in glowing vines. Strange symbols danced faintly on the walls as if alive. Eli entered carefully, his rifle ready, his heart pounding. He had survived wars, but there was something unsettling about this place. It felt like it was watching him. Then he heard it. A voice, soft and broken. "Please, don't shoot." Eli spun around, aiming his weapon. A figure stepped into the light. An alien woman, tall, with shimmering silver skin and eyes that glowed like faint blue fire. Her long white hair flowed down her shoulders, and though her body trembled, she carried herself with grace. I'm not your enemy," she said. "My name is Sarah." Eli lowered his gun slowly. "You speak English?" Sarah nodded weakly. "Your kind came here once, long ago. My people learned your words, but there are few of us left now." Eli frowned. "Few of you left? What happened?" Sarah looked away, shame in her eyes. "Our world is dying. The soil has gone barren, the air is thin. Our bodies cannot create life anymore." She took a step closer, her voice trembling. "We've searched the stars for help, but no one comes. Until now." Eli didn't understand at first. "Help? I'm just a pilot." "My ship's wrecked. You don't understand," Sarah whispered. "You are human. You carry something we lost long ago. Your species still creates life, still carries strength in the blood. We believe your biology could heal us." Eli felt a chill run through him. "You mean, you want my DNA? My blood?" Sarah nodded, her eyes wet with fear and desperation. "Yes, but please don't let my mate find out." Eli blinked in confusion. "Your mate?" She hesitated. "My husband. He is a warrior, proud and cruel. He believes we must die with honor, not beg another species for help. If he finds you, he will kill you, and me too." For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind howled through the ruins, and Eli could see the faint shimmer of tears on her cheeks. She wasn't lying. He could feel her pain, her fear, her hope. She wasn't asking for power. She was asking to survive. "I don't know if I can even help," Eli said quietly. "But I'll try." Sarah stepped closer, her trembling hand reaching out to touch his chest. "You already are," she whispered. "You came when no one else did." Eli looked into her eyes, glowing, gentle, and desperate. In that moment, he understood something he never had before. This wasn't about species or planets. It was about life itself, clinging to whatever hope it could find in the cold dark of the universe. He nodded. "All right, tell me what to do." Sarah's expression softened into something almost like relief. "There is a chamber beneath these ruins," she said softly. "An ancient place built by the first of my kind. It was meant for healing, for creation, but it needs the spark your kind carries." "The spark," Eli repeated. "You mean human life energy?" "Yes," she said. "The strength that builds, that protects, that endures. You call it will," Eli almost smiled. "That we've got plenty of." But deep inside, he knew the danger had only begun. Somewhere beyond those ruins, an alien warrior, her husband, was hunting. And if what Sarah said was true, the fate of an entire species might rest on what one human would dare to do in secret. As the alien woman led him into the depths of the glowing ruins, Eli whispered to himself, "Let's hope your husband never finds out." The path beneath the ruins was narrow and glowing with soft blue light. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsing with an ancient rhythm, as if the stone itself had a heartbeat. Eli followed Sarah, his boots echoing in the silence, his mind torn between fear and wonder. "How old is this place?" he asked quietly. "Older than our recorded time," Sarah whispered. "It was built by those who came before us, the first people of Lura 9. They created life with light and energy, not with pain or death. But the knowledge was lost." Eli ran his hand along the smooth wall. It felt warm, alive. "And you think my blood can bring it back?" Sarah nodded. "Your kind is strange to us. You are fragile, yet you survive anything. You lose your world and you build another. You fall and you rise again. We do not have that fire anymore. That is why we need you." They reached a large door carved with spiraling symbols. Sarah placed her palm against it. The symbols lit up and the stone parted with a deep hum. Inside was a circular room filled with floating crystals and silver machines half buried in dust. In the center stood a crystal platform, glowing faintly, surrounded by vines that shimmered like glass. "This is the chamber of life," Sarah said softly. "It can restore our ability to create life, yet if we can awaken it." Eli looked around. The air buzzed with energy. "How?" She turned to him with sorrow in her eyes. "By joining your will with mine. The chamber must feel the intent to save, not to conquer. It needs connection. Trust." Eli understood, though her words were strange. He placed his hand over his chest and took a breath. "All right, let's do it." She stepped closer, her hands trembling as she guided his palm to the crystal. The moment he touched it, light burst from beneath them, white and pure. The air filled with warmth and the sound of distant voices, echoes from a forgotten time. Eli felt something pulling inside him, a strange flow of energy running from his chest into the crystal. He felt weak but also connected. The room filled with glowing threads of light linking him and Sarah together. Sarah gasped, her eyes glowing brighter. "It's working. The system is responding to your presence." But then the ground shook. A roar echoed through the tunnels above them, deep, furious, and inhuman. Eli froze. "What was that?" Sarah's expression turned to fear. "My husband. He's found us." The chamber trembled again, dust falling from the ceiling. Sarah reached out, gripping Eli's arm tightly. "We can't stop now. If we break the link, the energy will vanish forever." Eli looked toward the door, hearing the sound of stone cracking. Something powerful was smashing its way in. "Then we better finish fast." Sarah closed her eyes and pressed both hands to the crystal. "Focus, human. Think of what you protect, what you love, what gives you strength." Eli did. He thought of Earth, of the oceans, the laughter of children, the stars humans had crossed just to survive. He thought of every loss that made his people stronger. His heart burned, and that fire poured into the chamber. The crystal flared so bright that it blinded him. Sarah cried out, her voice mixing with his as the ancient power surged awake. The machines around them roared to life, filling the air with light and song. Then, silence. When Eli opened his eyes, the room was glowing softly. The vines around the platform had turned golden, and Sarah stood trembling, tears running down her silver face. "It's alive," she whispered. "The chamber is alive again. You did it." Eli smiled faintly, though he could barely stand. "Good. Now, let's get out of here before your husband turns us both into dust." But before they could move, the door burst open with a thunderous crash. A towering alien warrior stepped inside, his eyes burning with rage, his armor gleaming dark blue. He looked at Sarah, then at Eli, his face twisting with betrayal. "You betrayed me, Sarah," he growled, his deep voice shaking the chamber. "You brought a human into our sacred place?" Sarah stepped in front of Eli, trembling but defiant.
"He saved us, Kale!"
"Without him, our people would die." Kale raised his weapon, glowing with deadly energy. "Then you should have let us die with honor." Eli gritted his teeth, stepping forward beside her. "I didn't come here to fight," he said. "But I'm not going to let you kill her." The chamber lights flickered as the tension grew. The silence after Kale's words was heavier than the air itself. The glowing light of the chamber flickered weakly, casting long shadows across the walls. Eli could see the hatred burning in Kale's eyes. Not just anger, but pain, too. The kind of pain that comes from love mixed with betrayal. Sarah stood trembling between them. Her voice shook, but her eyes stayed firm. "Kale, please, listen." This human gave his strength to the chamber. It worked. The chamber is alive again. We can create life once more. Kale's grip tightened on his weapon, the blue energy humming like thunder. "At what cost, Sarah?" He roared. "You defied our laws. You let him touch the sacred core. You shared our secret with an outsider." Eli stepped forward. "Hey, she didn't betray you. She was trying to save your people. If that makes her a criminal, maybe your laws are the problem." Kale turned his furious gaze on him. "You dare speak of our laws, human?" His voice echoed like rolling storms. "Your kind spreads across the stars like fire, consuming everything. You bring death in the name of survival. You think you are saviors? You are destroyers!" Eli's heart pounded, but he didn't back down. "Maybe we are. But we also rebuild. We protect. We fight for life. Not just for ourselves, but for anyone who asks for help." Kale snarled and raised his weapon. "Then fight now." Before Eli could react, Kale lunged. A flash of blue energy sliced through the air. Eli dove aside, feeling the heat scorch past his arm. Sparks rained down as the beam hit the metal walls. Sierra screamed, "Stop it! Both of you!" But Cale was too far gone in rage. His strikes came fast, each one shaking the floor. Eli grabbed a broken metal rod from the ground, using it like a staff to block a swing. The impact sent pain shooting through his arms, but he stayed on his feet. "You can't stop what's already begun," Sarah cried. "The chamber is awake. It will heal our people." Cale turned toward her, eyes burning. "No, not with human corruption. We were meant to die pure, not live tainted." Eli's chest ached, not from the fight, but from what he heard. He could see it now. Cale wasn't just angry. He was afraid. Afraid of change, afraid of losing what made his people proud. "Cale," Eli said, lowering the metal rod, "you love her, don't you?" The warrior froze, his breathing heavy. His eyes flickered, uncertain. "You love her so much," Eli continued softly, "that you'd rather watch her die than let her be saved by something you don't understand." For a heartbeat, the warrior hesitated. The fury in his eyes dimmed, just a little. Sarah took a step closer, her voice trembling but full of love. "Cal, I did this for us, for the children we'll never have. For the people who still believe, if we die with pride, no one will remember us. But if we live, there is hope." Cale's hands shook. The weapon's glow dimmed as he looked at her, the woman he loved, now standing beside a human. His pride and his heart battled inside him. Eli lowered his weapon completely. "If you want to kill me, go ahead," he said. "But don't kill her hope. Don't kill what little chance your people have left." Cale let out a broken sound, half growl, half cry. He fell to one knee, his weapon clattering to the floor. "You do not understand what you've done," he whispered. "The council will see this as betrayal. They will destroy us all." Sarah dropped beside him, tears glowing in her eyes. "Then we will face them together." Cale looked between her and Eli, and for the first time there was no hate in his gaze, only exhaustion and sorrow. "The chamber has awakened," he murmured. "Its energy will spread across the planet. The council will sense it. They will come," Eli frowned. "Then we better be ready." Kyle stood slowly, his strength returning. "If I must protect her, I will fight beside you, human. But understand this. When this ends, your kind must leave and never return." Eli gave a small, tired smile. "Deal." Sarah looked at both of them, her hands clutching her heart. "Then it begins. The future of Lura 9 will be decided by what we do next." The three of them stood in the glowing chamber. A broken warrior, a desperate woman, and a human who carried the spark of a dying world. Above them, the ruins trembled as distant thunder rolled across the alien sky. And far away, the ancient council of Lura 9 opened their eyes, sensing the forbidden light that had returned after centuries of silence. The air above the ruins began to shimmer like heat on desert sand. Strange sounds filled the air, deep humming tones that made the ground tremble. Eli, Sarah, and Cale stepped out of the chamber into the open night, and the violet sky was no longer calm. Bright lights appeared above the horizon, not stars, but ships. Dozens of them, sleek and silent like silver blades cutting through the clouds. "The council has come," Cale said quietly. His voice was calm now, but his eyes carried the weight of dread. "They will not come to speak. They will come to judge." Eli looked up at the sky, then at Sarah. "So they know?" "Yes," she whispered. The chamber's light reached the stars. Every ancient sensor woke up. "They know it was activated by foreign hands." Eli clenched his fists. "Then we stand together." Sarah smiled weakly, though her eyes shimmered with fear. "You humans are strange. You don't even belong here, yet you're willing to fight for us." Eli looked at her softly. "You begged me to help. That's all it took." The first of the council ships landed in the valley below. Their soldiers poured out, tall, armored beings with silver masks and glowing spears. The air filled with a low hum as they began marching toward the ruins. Cale turned to Eli. "They will destroy the chamber first. Then us. I cannot stop them alone." Eli placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you won't be alone." For a moment, the alien warrior stared at the human beside him. Then slowly he nodded. "You have the heart of a true warrior." Sarah moved closer to the crystal door, pressing her palm against it. "The chamber is still awake. Its energy can protect us if we connect to it again. But it will need all our strength." "Do it," Eli said. The ground shook as the first wave of soldiers reached the entrance of the ruins. Blue energy bolts struck the stone walls, shattering ancient carvings. The hum of their weapons grew louder, echoing through the tunnels. Eli, Kale, and Sarah stood together at the heart of the glowing chamber. Sarah closed her eyes, whispering words in her language. The floor beneath them lit up with golden light, spreading in circles outward like ripples in water. "Now," she cried. Kale slammed his hands on the crystal, his armor glowing. Eli followed, pressing his palms beside Sarah's. Instantly, a burst of power surged through all three of them. The crystal pulsed like a beating heart. A wave of golden energy rushed upward through the ruins, spreading across the valley. The soldiers stopped, shielding their eyes as the light consumed everything around them. From above, the council's ships began firing beams of energy down at the ruins. But each strike shattered against an invisible barrier of light. The ground itself seemed to protect them. Eli felt his chest burning as the chamber drew more from him. Not just blood, but emotion. Memories flashed before his eyes, his childhood, his comrades, Earth. The love and pain that made him human poured into the crystal like fuel. Sarah screamed, the glow around her body growing brighter. "It's working! The energy is spreading across the planet!" Kale's voice thundered with effort. "Then hold the line, both of you." The walls cracked, dust falling from above, but none of them moved away. They stood together, alien and human, bound by one purpose: life. Outside, the golden light spread through the soil, the trees, the rivers. The planet itself began to breathe again. The dead lands turned green. The air shimmered with energy. Inside the chamber, Eli collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. His strength was almost gone, but he smiled weakly. "Tell me it worked." Sarah knelt beside him, her glowing hand resting on his shoulder. "It worked. Lura 9 lives again?" Kyle looked up at the ceiling where cracks of light shone through. For a moment, the proud warrior had no words. His people were saved, by the very being he had hated. But the victory was short-lived. Above, the sky filled with a single massive ship, larger than any before. The Council's prime vessel. Sarah's face turned pale. "That is the High Council itself. They will not allow this to continue." Kale stood tall, his armor dim but his spirit blazing. "Then we make them see. We show them what life means." Eli forced himself up, eyes hard. "Let's finish this together." The three turned toward the light-filled sky, ready for whatever would come next, even if it meant standing against the gods of another world. The sky above the ruins turned silver as the prime vessel descended. It was so large that it blotted out the stars, casting the entire valley into shadow. The air grew heavy with energy, and the sound of a thouser. And engines roared like thunder. Eli, Sarah, and Kale stood at the edge of the ruins, watching as a massive light beam shot down from the ship. From it stepped a figure taller and older than any Eli had seen before, the High Chancellor of the Lura 9 Council. Her body shimmered like molten glass, and her eyes glowed with cold silver light. Her voice carried across the valley, calm and sharp as a blade. "Who dares awaken the forbidden chamber of life?" Kale stepped forward and bowed his head. "High Chancellor, it was I who led them here. I take full blame." But the Chancellor's gaze shifted to Sarah, and then to Eli. Her eyes narrowed. "A human? This is the contamination we feared. You have brought corruption to our sacred soil." Sarah took a deep breath. "He saved us. Without him, our people would have faded into dust." The chamber needed his will, his strength, the human spark that endures through death and despair. He gave it freely. The Chancellor's voice grew cold. "No alien strength is pure. Their kind spreads chaos through the stars. They consume worlds and call it survival. Would you risk all of Lura 9 for one human's defiance?" Eli stepped forward, his voice steady despite the weight pressing on his chest. "You're wrong. I didn't come here to conquer or corrupt. I crashed here by accident, but when I saw Sarah's pain, I couldn't turn away. Humans don't run from suffering. We fight it." The Chancellor studied him silently. "You speak boldly for a dying creature. Why risk your life for another species?" Eli met her eyes. "Because life, any life, deserves a chance. You talk about purity, but what good is purity if it means extinction? Sometimes you have to change to survive." The Chancellor's expression didn't change, but the crowd of soldiers behind her stirred, whispering to one another. Kale noticed it too. Doubt was growing among them. "Enough," the Chancellor said, raising her hand. "Your words are meaningless. The chamber's activation violates the oldest law. It must be destroyed, and so must those who awakened it." Energy began to gather around her hand, a white flame bright enough to burn the air. Sarah gasped and stepped in front of Eli, spreading her arms. "No, if you want to kill him, you will have to kill me too." Cale moved beside her, his armor lighting up once more. "And me," he said firmly. "He saved my world when I could not." For a long, silent moment, the Chancellor hesitated. 3 stood against her, a human, an alien woman, and the warrior who once vowed to kill them both. Behind her, the soldiers wavered, unsure if they should follow orders or listen to their hearts. Then Eli stepped forward, slowly placing his hand over Sarah's shoulder. "You don't have to do this," he said softly to the Chancellor. The chamber didn't destroy anything. It gave life. "Look around you." The Chancellor turned her gaze to the horizon. The once dead plains of Lura 9 were glowing gold under the clouds. Rivers of light flowed through the soil, and the air shimmered with new growth. Plants bloomed for the first time in centuries. "The planet is alive again," Sarah whispered. "Is that not what our ancestors wanted?" The Chancellor's silver eyes dimmed slightly. "Change brings chaos. Power brings war." Eli nodded slowly. "It might. But without change, there's nothing left to fight for." For a long time, the alien leader said nothing. The ships above the valley hung still, silent like watchful ghosts. Finally, the Chancellor lowered her hand. The white flame faded. "You have risked much, human," she said quietly. "Perhaps too much. But maybe your corruption is what we have needed all along." Eli gave a tired smile. "We call it hope." The Chancellor turned to her soldiers. "Stand down. The chamber will remain. Let life decide its own path." A wave of relief swept through the valley. Sarah fell to her knees, tears glowing on her cheeks. Cale placed a hand on her shoulder, silent but proud. Eli looked at the sky as the prime vessel began to rise. For the first time, the stars shone bright again over Lura 9. But in his heart, Eli knew this was not the end. The world had been reborn, and with it new dangers, new questions, and new beginnings. He glanced at Sarah and Cale. "So, what now?" Sarah smiled softly. "Now we rebuild. Together." The warships of the Council slowly vanished into the sky, leaving behind silence and golden light. The valley that had once been cold and lifeless now shimmered with warmth. New plants broke through the cracked soil, their petals glowing like tiny stars. Eli stood on the edge of the ruins, breathing in the clean air. For the first time since he crashed, the planet didn't feel hostile, it felt alive. Sarah walked beside him, her silver hair shining under the sunlight. "It's strange," she said softly. "For years our people prayed for a miracle, and it came not from the stars we worshipped, but from a human who fell from the sky by accident." Eli smiled faintly. "Funny how life works like that. Sometimes it's the mistakes that save us." Behind them, Kyle and a group of alien workers were rebuilding the entrance to the ruins. The once broken walls now glowed with new energy flowing from the chamber. The people who had once feared death were now filled with purpose. Cale called out, his deep voice echoing. "The energy streams are stable. The soil is healing faster than expected. It's as if the planet itself is remembering how to live." Sarah turned to Eli. "It's because of you. The chamber took something from your heart, your will, your strength, and gave it to the world. You've become part of Lura 9 now." Eli looked at the growing fields and glowing rivers. "Then I guess I'm home." But in truth, a quiet ache stirred inside him. His ship was still destroyed, and his communication systems were gone. There was no way to call for rescue. He didn't even know if anyone back on Earth would know what happened to him. Sarah seemed to sense his sadness. "You miss your world?" Eli nodded slowly. "Yeah, I miss the blue skies, the smell of rain, the noise of cities. But maybe I was meant to end up here." She looked at him with soft eyes. "Maybe the stars don't send people by accident." For days, Eli worked alongside Cale and the others, teaching them how to strengthen structures, manage power flow, and protect the chamber's energy. The aliens learned fast. They were different from humans, calm, graceful, but full of wonder like children seeing the sun for the first time. At night, they built fires and shared stories. Eli told them about Earth, about the oceans, forests, and the endless fight to survive against all odds. The Lura 9 people listened in silence, their glowing eyes reflecting the flames. One night, Cale sat beside Eli. His voice was quiet, humbled. You changed everything, human. You gave us a second chance. Eli looked into the fire. I didn't do it alone. You fought for it too. Kyle nodded slowly. Before this, I thought honor meant dying for pride. But now I see honor is living for those who still have hope. There was peace between them now. No anger. No pride, just understanding. The next morning, Sarah brought Eli to a high hill overlooking the valley. The landscape stretched far and wide, filled with golden fields and rivers of light. Life was blooming again, faster each day. This is what the chamber gave us, she said softly. But its power is fading now. It has done its work. The rest depends on us. Eli looked at her, smiling gently. Then don't stop. Keep building. Keep believing. That's how humans survive. Sarah turned toward him, her eyes glistening. We will. And when the first new Lith is born on this planet, we will remember you, the human who gave us hope. He looked away, trying to hide the emotion in his eyes. Just promise me one thing, Sarah, she nodded. Anything. Don't let this world make the same mistakes mine did. Don't let fear kill what love has built. Sarah reached out, taking his hand. Her touch was warm and light. We won't. I promise. As the twin suns of Lura 9 rose above the horizon, Eli watched the light spill over the reborn planet. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like a wanderer. He felt like a part of something greater, a world that had once begged for life. Now alive because he cared enough to stay. But deep inside, a quiet question still lingered. Would humanity ever know what he had done here? Would anyone ever believe that one man, one lost human, had saved an alien world with nothing but hope? Eli smiled softly and whispered to the wind. They don't have to. As long as it lives, that's enough. Weeks passed on Lura 9, and the planet continued to change. The air was fresh now, the soil rich, and rivers of light ran across the land like veins of life itself. The alien people had returned to their villages, rebuilding their homes with laughter and song instead of sorrow. The golden glow of the chamber spread through the valleys, turning death into green life. Eli watched it all quietly from the hill where he had built a small shelter. It wasn't much, just metal scraps from his broken ship and a soft place to sleep. But it was enough. He didn't need more. He found peace in the sound of the wind, in the laughter of children who were no longer hungry, and in the calm heartbeat of a world he had helped revive. Sarah visited him often, bringing food and stories. Her silver skin no longer looked pale and weak. It shimmered with light. Hope had brought her back to life. One morning she came running up the hill, her eyes wide with excitement.
Eli, come quickly!
He grabbed his jacket and followed her down to the old ruins, the same place where their story had begun. The chamber of life stood bright again, its crystal heart glowing stronger than ever. Around it, Kale and several others stood in silence. Eli stepped closer. What's happening? Sarah turned to him, her voice trembling with emotion. It happened, Eli. The first one. At the center of the platform, inside a cocoon of golden light, something small and fragile moved. It was an infant, an alien child, breathing softly, its tiny skin glowing like dawn. Eli froze. His throat tightened.
You mean...
Sarah nodded, tears falling down her cheeks. Yes, new life. The chamber gave birth again. Kyle knelt beside the light, his proud face softened by awe. We are a people reborn, he said quietly. Then he looked at Eli and bowed his head. Because of you. Eli stepped closer, his voice low. Because of us. He watched the newborn, fascinated. It looked alien and yet familiar. Small hands, closed eyes, a heartbeat that echoed softly through the air. It was life, pure and innocent. Sarah gently lifted the child and held it against her heart. We will name him Elian, she said softly. After the human who gave us a future. Eli blinked, surprised. You don't have to. She shook her head, smiling through tears. It's not a choice, Eli, it's a promise. Every child born after this will know your name, not as a savior, but as the one who believed when no one else did. Kyle placed his large hand over the child's small chest. He carries the spark of both worlds, he said proudly. Human will and Luran heart. He will remind us that strength is not in purity, but in unity. Eli looked around the chamber, once a place of fear and secrecy, now glowing with warmth. He felt something inside him settle, like a weight finally lifted. This was it, his purpose, But he also knew his body was growing weaker. Ever since the day he touched the chamber, something in him had changed. The energy that saved their planet had taken much of his own. He had given part of his life to the world, and now that gift was slowly fading. Sarah noticed his pale skin and trembling hands. "Eli, you need rest." He smiled gently. "I'm fine. Just tired. Guess saving a planet takes a bit out of you." Sarah's voice broke. "Don't joke about it, please." He reached out and touched her shoulder. "You'll be fine now. All of you. That's what matters." Outside, the two suns began to set, painting the sky in gold and pink. Eli walked to the doorway and looked out across the valley. The air was full of light and laughter, life in every corner of the world. Kyle came beside him, silent for a moment. Then he said, "You will always have a place here, human." Eli smiled faintly. "Maybe someday the stars will tell your people about Earth, and my people about you." As night fell, the first stars appeared in the violet sky. Eli closed his eyes, feeling the wind brush his face. The world was alive again. His job was done. When the people of Lura 9 told stories in the years that followed, they spoke of the man who gave his light to the planet, the lost human who turned death into life. And every child born after that carried a small flame inside their hearts, something ancient and strong, something human, the spark that remained.